This segment is sponsored by Merrifield Garden Center. This could also be a great weekend to get your hands dirty in the garden and update your curb appeal.
You know I've been wanting to do this.
Yes.
It's that time of year I want to get this done at my house, so it was also a perfect time for me to head to Merrifield Garden Center. So I got some tips and inspiration from Cooke on how to pick out foundation plants that will make your home stand out this spring. Joel, we are talking foundation planting. What is foundation planting?
So the easiest way to think about foundation plantings is that they're the perimeter plantings that line the front or side of your house.
Okay.
They help to soften the architectural lines from where the house goes to the ground. They help to add curb appeal and value to your house, and they also provide year-round interest, texture, color, just lots of interest.
Now, I'm sure most of us have some kind of foundation planting at our home already. So how do we update it and update that curb appeal?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of times we've got overgrown plants, we've got plants in decline, they need to be removed. Sometimes we have a blank slate, an empty canvas that we're ready to work with. Either way, adding foundation plants is a very exciting and rewarding project.
Okay.
So generally we think about it as sort of starting with the backdrop. The evergreens is the backdrop for their keeping their leaves through the winter, providing winter interest, texture, color. Some examples of these would be boxwoods, hollies, laurels, yews. Again, they're seen as the backdrop of the landscape.
Okay.
The next layer would be flowering shrubs, or shrubs that provide contrasting color, texture, so other interest. Some examples of these would be spirea, abelia, ninebark, different pines and spruces. It's a way to really kind of maximize the texture, the color, a lot of things going on, a lot of interest. Then the third and sort of final layer would be low-growing shrubs, ground cover, even annuals, perennials, that sort of thing. Some examples would be junipers, deutzia, weigela, even things like hostas, ferns, liriabe, kind of your classic ground cover.
Okay. And then when you're thinking of putting it all together, you talk about those 3 layers of things to think about, but how do we figure out the best way to arrange them? What's going to look best?
Right. So there's no like, you know, one-size-fits-all approach to arranging plants. It's kind of like what your feel is, what your look you're going for, your style, that sort of thing.
Okay.
There are a couple of common arrangement styles. One would be a sort of formal and traditional look, where you would line the plants up in a row, equally spaced, like a boxwood hedge. Boom, 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 boom.
Right. Okay.
Another approach, a little bit more flexible, would be sort of a staggered planting. That's where you would have sort of groupings of things. That way there's a little bit of movement, a little bit of flow, but it's still very nice and arranged. The third, and I think sort of the most fun and whimsical approach, would be one that's sort of a go with the flow approach. And that's where sort of my landscape is modeled after, where I've got one of this, one of that, a grouping of this, a grouping of that, a little bit of ground cover tucked in here, some perennials popping up there. In my opinion, it's just so beautiful because there's colors and textures and blooms and shapes and forms, things happening all year. It's just really exciting.
If somebody doesn't want, say, flowers in their garden, but they could have a bunch of different greenery, like
that's exactly right.
Show different colors, different textures.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So even just sticking very classic, you could have a landscape with just green plants, different shades of green, different textures. So honestly, the textural garden is extremely beautiful and impressive.
Yeah. What if we want to put a tree? How do we incorporate trees into it?
Gotcha. Great question. So the trees add like a really nice architectural accent to the landscape, and they can be put in the foundation planting. We suggest using small selections such as tree-form hydrangea, tree-form lilac, or weeping forms. That way you get this really interesting architectural plant that's not getting too high, but you've got nice fullness and width. Or even vertical plants, just really upright, narrow plants. That way you get sort of an exclamation in the landscape, a real point.
Now you're the expert, and there's experts here at Merrifield, right? You can help us kind of design it and figure it all out?
Absolutely. So we are excited and thrilled. We'd love to have the opportunity to help you and work with you in selecting beautiful plants for your landscape. Our purchasing team and I work really hard to source the highest quality plants, the best selection you're going to find. We're getting truckloads of plants in daily. We're fully stocked at all times.
I can tell how much you love doing this. I can tell how much you love doing this. Thank you so much for all this great information, Joel.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Joel is quite the expert. If this topic spoke to you like it spoke to me, then go ahead and visit Merrifield Garden Center at one of their 3 locations in Merrifield, Fair Oaks, or Gainesville. You can also find them online at merrifieldgardencenter.com and on social media at Merrifield Garden Center.